It was a warm night in mid-spring, and the Ocean Club resort on Portugal's far south coast was buzzing. Lights around the pool twinkled as the McCann family, from Leicestershire in England, gathered to enjoy the evening with friends while their 3 kids slept off the sun and sea nearby. Then, in one moment, everything changed. At 10 p.m. on Thursday, May 3, 2007, Kate and Gerry McCann's eldest daughter Madeleine, a few days away from turning 4, was discovered missing from her bed. Madeleine McCann was sleeping in this apartment in the resort town of Praia de Luz when she was taken. Those who witnessed the chaos that night described Kate pacing back and forth almost catatonic with fear, as she looked for her lost child and tried to protect her 18-month-old twins, Sean and Amelie. Gerry was bent over, peering under cars, behind shrubs. "You're in this quiet little holiday resort that seemed idyllic," Gerry has said of the moment. "Then, we couldn't get the dark thoughts out of our minds, that somebody had taken her and abused her. I remember being slumped on the floor and calling some of my family members and just saying, 'Pray for her.' In the back of everyone's mind was simply this: were they still hunting for a lost little girl, or should they be looking for a body? Millions of dollars have been spent trying to answer that question. But almost 15 years later, Madeleine is still missing, and details of what happened that night remain a mystery." Madeleine's legacy. Now, Britain's Metropolitan Police has announced the dedicated $26 million task force Operation Grange, that was set up in 2011 to solve the case, is running out of money. While investigators will continue to accept tips, there are no plans to take the inquiry further. When the investigation winds up, Kate and Gerry McCann will be back where they began in 2007, funding their own search for their lovely daughter, this time from a fund of donations said to be worth about $1.3 million. "We will never give up hope of finding Madeleine alive," Gerry has said. "We need to know, as we need to find peace." Kate said in 2017 she will do whatever it takes, for as long as it takes, to find her daughter. Yet even though investigations are no closer to charging a suspect, the hunt for Madeleine, who would turn 19 on May 12, has already left an important legacy that experts believe has changed the way police approach investigations into missing children, including William Tyrrell and Cleo Smith, and even Shayla Phillips, the subject of Australia's most recent missing child hunt. Shayla Phillips went missing in Tasmania, but was found yesterday alive and well after wandering away from home. The 3 most important influences drawn from the Madeleine McCann case, according to Zand Mallet, a forensic anthropologist and criminologist from the University of Newcastle, who specializes in the behavior of pedophiles, are the early use of a strong image, the creation of a perfect victim, and an investigation strategy that prioritizes multiple lines of inquiry. The image. This image of Madeleine McCann was important in helping the community care about what had happened to her. As news broke of Madeleine's disappearance in 2007, Mallet was watching TV with a group of colleagues from the Forensic Investigation Centre, where she worked in England. As the story unfolded on the screen, Mallet emphasizes how important early images of Maddie were building a public profile for the media and British public to get behind, helping underscore the urgency of the search. The now iconic photo of Maddie's sweet face, messy bobbed haircut and fringe, her wide blue and green eyes with a distinctive brown mark in the right, was deeply affecting. The fact that the little girl shared such a strong likeness to her mother emphasized their bond and the unfathomable loss. Everyone who saw the picture felt invested in Maddie's story and wanted to know what would happen next. The result is that the disappearance of Madeleine McCann has become one of the most widely reported missing persons cases in history. The mediatization of Madeleine McCann was helped further by the fact that social media platforms, including Facebook and Twitter, had just launched in 2004 and 2007, offering novel new ways for promoting the story. Kate and Gerry, too, understood from the start that the will to invest effort into finding Madeleine was related to keeping her story in the news. Maddie's parents were pilloried for their media focus, Mallet says, but they knew if Maddie slipped off the front page, the likelihood of her being found diminished significantly, so engaging with the media and keeping her front and center was their best chance of getting her back. The media narrative built Maddie's disappearance as a mystery. How does a child simply vanish? The media, and crucially, also the police, continued to invest in finding the answer. Kate and Gerry McCann regularly posed for photographs to keep their daughter's disappearance in the media. Their regular press conferences marking investigation milestones and anniversaries were accompanied by more emotive images, often featuring the couple side by side holding a photograph of their daughter, reminiscent of something biblical in the way it was constructed, subtly emphasizing the idea that Maddie represented a perfect victim. The use of an early iconic photograph is a tactic that has assisted the campaigns for William Tyrrell and Cleo Smith, too, says Mallet. "We all know the boy in the Spider-Man suit," she says. "These are images that stay with you." This photograph of William Tyrrell also became an iconic image of the abducted boy. A perfect victim. Defining Maddie as what criminologists call a perfect victim, someone who in the eyes of the public is totally blameless for their situation, helped build a sense of urgency to find her, Mallet says. The story of this little girl, snatched from her bed while on holiday, described a scenario of intense vulnerability that triggered deep emotion in anyone who heard it, regardless of whether they were a parent or not. Of course, all victims are innocent, but, unfortunately, we do tend to rank this idea. You'll hear conversations like, "Oh well, you know, they were doing something risky," Mallet says. The perfect victim is somebody who was harmed through literally no fault of their own. Kate McCann and her daughter Madeleine came to personify the perfect victim. Once again, this aspect of the William Tyrrell and Cleo Smith cases was successfully emphasized as a method for galvanizing ongoing public interest and support. When we have our perfect victim, our good guy, human biology comes into play, Mallet says. The loss of a child is something we can all relate to, and it reaches deep into the human psyche, exposing existential fears about safety and survival. If something's happened to a child, I think that pretty much rocks everybody, Mallet says. Humans are hardwired to protect our youngest biologically. They represent our future, and when they go missing, this tears at our sense of order in the world. The investigations that follow abductions take us deep into the lives of these children. We learn about their personalities. We see their bedrooms and backyards, and study images of their favorite toys. Following Maddie's disappearance, Kate carried around a pink soft toy belonging to her daughter and spoke of the last time she was with her daughter, reading her favorite book, If You're Happy, and You Know It Together. Loved personal items like this soft toy help us feel close to people who have disappeared. We follow investigations into their disappearances like the minutes of a sporting match. There are good guys and bad guys, and the entire community becomes bonded by the emotional investment in victory for our team. Yet the McCann case also exposed inequalities in the way missing person cases are handled. Gerry and Kate, both doctors, had the intelligence and insights to drive a media campaign, and their privileged middle-class background also matched stereotypes about what a perfect victim might look like. Millions of dollars have been poured into the search, and it's unique in that sense because while every missing child deserves to be found, there are lots of missing children and very few of them receive this level of investment, Mallet says. The investigation strategy. From the beginning, the search for Madeleine McCann faced a series of sliding doors moments that became torturous. What ifs? What if the holiday apartment had been properly sealed off as a crime scene to preserve evidence, and early investigations by Portuguese police had been more focused? What if the holiday apartment had been properly sealed off as a crime scene to preserve evidence, and early investigations by Portuguese police had been more focused? What if crucial clues, such as reports of a man leaving the resort carrying a sleeping child, had been quickly followed up? What if crucial clues, such as reports of a man leaving the resort carrying a sleeping child, had been quickly followed up? What if Madeleine's parents had never been labeled as key suspects, throwing the investigation off track for weeks? What if Madeleine's parents had never been labeled as key suspects, throwing the investigation off track for weeks? What if Scotland Yard had opened its own investigation far sooner than 2011?